My name is Estelle Crawford, and as president of the Pines of Sarasota Foundation, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our 7th annual Wit and Wisdom of Aging Luncheon. Now, I know you're going to be served momentarily, so please don't worry about waiting. Just dig in while the program's going. I was thinking the other day about that old phrase, the more things change, the more they remain the same. And I reflected on my own life, and I thought how true it is. We'll see if our panelists think the same way. Linda Carson, Carolyn Michael, and Dr. Bernard Watson. But I know it applies to Pines. Pines has embraced change in the form of new programs and new services, offering excellent care. What has never changed and never will change is our commitment to provide quality, compassionate care to all of our residents, the moms, the dads, the grandpas, the grandmas, the loved ones in our community, even after they outlive their financial resources. I think that's pretty damn good. Today, we're excited to share with you a new falls prevention initiative that's already begun to impact the community. And we'll also tell you about one of our sweetest services not so many people know about, but today you will. It is now my pleasure to welcome on stage our interim president and CEO of Pines of Sarasota, John Overton.
Thank you. Whoa. Hey, thank you very much. Change and stay the same. That's good. And here I am. I appreciate that. Good afternoon, everybody. I tell you, it's going to be a great afternoon, and we're glad that you're here. So some of you around the room, many of you around the room, are well familiar with our organization, Pines of Sarasota, either having been on the campus or because of the fact of having been to one of the previous 6 Wit and Wisdom luncheons. And I think some of the people may have been to all 6. If so, you already know that we provide and have provided some of the very best care and services for seniors of Sarasota County and Manatee since 1948, originally conceived by the Kiwanis Club of Sarasota. We're very proud about that. You also may also be aware of the fact that we serve the largest number of skilled nursing residents all the way throughout Southwest Florida, from Bradenton all the way to Naples. And as a not-for-profit employer, you probably also know that we have the largest number of full-time staff of any organization in all of Sarasota County. Now, most of you know that, but what you may not know is that Pines of Sarasota's Education and Training Institute, in collaboration with the nation's leading trainer in memory care, has reached over, are you ready for this, 35 countries internationally through the sale, that's big, that's huge, through the sale of our DVDs and our internet streaming. Also, you may not know that the rehabilitation efforts at Pines of Sarasota have dramatically changed in the last 10 years. From having 3 therapists just 10 years ago to having a staff of over 16 therapists today. So that means that our Goldstein Rehabilitation Center, along with the Manser Family Outpatient Rehabilitation Facility, are drawing praise from the community for the very many folks that over the past several years have been rehabilitated and sent back to their former living environment. And as the saying goes, we've only just begun. We are continuing the growth and outreach of our campus through the community. And today we introduce you to the newest and we believe most transformative venture. This preventative program directly supports our senior population, of which, yes, I am one. Thank you for that clapping with it. Wasn't going to say it, but just I am. I'm proud of it. And this program has helped to combat falls before they occur, as falls are the single greatest serious injury creator among seniors that can even lead to death. It's a project that's been in the planning stages for a number of years now, and we're very excited about what it can do and what it's already doing for seniors in our community. So fortunately today, enough of me, if you'll look over to the screens, I have a little help today in being able to introduce you to Ready and Steady, a plan for better balance. Take it away.
People are talking about Ready and Steady, a plan for better balance from Pines of Sarasota.
Hi everybody, I'm Dick Vitale of ESPN. I'm so excited to be part of this program. Yes, the people at Pines of Sarasota do a phenomenal job. And right now they have a program they're excited about. Ready and Steady. That's right, about better balance. It's all about getting balance. As we get older, obviously we're susceptible to falling. Well, let me tell you this, they have a test. You get an assessment, you find out your risk of possibly falling. And I'll tell you, it'll go a long way because they'll devise a plan to be able to help you.
The Pines offers an experience that is truly an eye-opener, enlightening to find that my balance wasn't as great as I thought it may have been.
I've seen the devastating effects that falls can have. And as we age, we lose some of our capacity to balance well. Now is your chance. You can take advantage of the free testing and fall prevention offered by the Pines of Sarasota. I did it, and so should you.
The Ready and Steady Plan for Better Balance Falls Risk Assessment is just 3 easy steps. The first step is a simple questionnaire designed by the CDC. It will help us understand your medical history. The second step is our TUG test. It's timed up and go chair test and measures your mobility and balance. The third step is the balance test using the state-of-the-art Biodex machine. It's 3 different quick trials that when combined will give us an understanding of your balance. 3 simple steps. It's that easy. And when all 3 steps are analyzed, provides a very accurate assessment of your individual risk for falling. Hundreds of people have taken our free Ready and Steady Falls Risk Assessment. But what I'm really excited about is that so many who are at risk of falling have also taken our physical therapy programs. They've dramatically improved their balance and strength so they can have an independent and good quality of life for as long as possible. The Ready and Steady balanced therapy outcomes are the true success of this program.
I'm very independent. I have no family here, and it's up to me to take care of myself. The program has helped me in the muscle building that it's done. It's helped me to be aware of what is around me that can cause me to fall. The Ready and Steady program has helped me tremendously.
Remember, the people at Pines of Sarasota care about you. It's important that you care about yourself.
Ready and Steady. I've taken the test and so should you.
I hope that you enjoy the video, but I certainly urge you to take advantage of the free balance assessments. You each have on your table these little blue Ready and Steady cards. If you don't feel that you need it, please give it to a friend, neighbor, client. How wonderful to be able to prevent something rather than dealing with it after it happens. And like Dickie Smothers said, I've taken the test and so should you, and I'd love Dickie to stand up. Where are you, Dickie? Oh! There you are. A celebrity among us. Thank you. This luncheon has always been successful because of the efforts of our volunteers and also key staff members. So I want to do a quick shout out to Terry Arnell, staff member who oversaw all the details. And I'm so grateful to this year's co-chairs, Jerry Aaron and Jane Hunter, who through yesterday were putting flowers in those vases. Come on up.
Thank you, and again, I welcome you all to this wonderful and very special event. Special thanks really goes to Estelle Crawford, our president of our foundation, and also to John Overton, who will always be our interim CEO. Thank you both. I'd like to recognize both of our boards. Pine Sarasota chair of our board is Mr. Craig Coach. And we have the co-chairs of the foundation board, Eddie Morton and Jim Rutledge. Thank you, gentlemen, for all that you do. I'd just like to ask all of our board members in attendance today, including our wonderful chairs, to please stand so we can acknowledge every one of them. Thank you. Sponsors, we are so very grateful for each and every one of you. We couldn't do this without you. So I hope that you all have made a note of our wonderful sponsors that are listed in your program book, and you also will be seeing them, or if you have not already seen them, on both of our screens. So just please thank them when you see them, and we offer them special thanks now. Special thanks also to our platinum sponsors, Marilyn Schumann and Ann Virag. Thank you, ladies, so very much for all that you have done. And last but certainly not least, our wonderful co-chair, Jerry Aaron, for being our title sponsor. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Jane. What a pleasure it has been to chair this event with you, Jane, although you did all of the work. Yeah. Thank you and your husband also for being one of our gold level sponsors, along with Tom and Sherry, Koski, Betty Schoenbaum, Julie Milton of CNU Magazine, Kathy Rustin, Sunset Automotive Group, Synovus Bank, and Sarasota Herald Tribune. Thank you all. And I won't forget to thank our phenomenal committee members. You all did a fabulous job. Would you stand and be recognized, committee members? And now I would like to acknowledge some special guests. Commissioner Suzanne Atwell, Sarah Pappas, CEO of Selby Foundation, Roxy Jurdy, CEO of Community Foundation of Sarasota. Is she here? Hi. And Veronica Brady, where are you, representing Gulf Coast Community Foundation. I'm sure she's here. It really is a privilege to chair this event and help the Pines of Sarasota. Like many of you, I feel as though I have known about the Pines, and I recognize that they provide the highest standard of quality, compassionate care. And the Pines have been here longer than many of us. Last year, when I was one of the panelists at this event, do you remember? Estelle invited me to tour the Pines, and it was amazing. I learned then that they provided preschool daycare for children That really struck a chord in me. You may think, as I thought, that Pines only cares for seniors, but they care for the youngest members of our community. Wow. And here's a video that will tell you more about why bringing children and seniors together makes such a difference in everyone's lives. Thank you all.
It truly is an indescribable joy to have 2 childcare facilities on campus. We're so blessed. Our residents just get so much love and compassion and humor and laughs out of the children. The interaction between them is just priceless.
Our grandson Jackson, he's 3.5 years old, a little bit on the shy side, but he loves coming to school here at the Pines of Sarasota. I'm sure there's a lot of children that come here that don't have grandparents, so they have their adopted papas and amas. I'm called Ama, and there's people here, the seniors that live here, that probably don't have grandchildren or don't see their grandchildren anymore. And it probably, like a full circle thing, brings them all together.
What do you guys like about visiting our grandmas and grandpas?
Playing with them.
Playing with them. Yeah, what else?
And having fun. And like to give them huggings and kisses.
Huggings and kisses.
I feel like every year we're able to graduate children out into the community who love elders. The grandmas and grandpas might have things that are different about them that the children learn to accept.
I know when our kids were little, Jackson's mom, when they would see a wheelchair, they would kind of point and want to know what is that, and how come somebody's pushing that person. And with Jackson, nothing is different. That's part of the world he's growing up in.
About 3.5 years ago, my father, Jesse Hubbard Sr., became a patient here. He did rehab actually first, and then after the rehab, he became a resident here. And a couple of years later, about a year later, my mom actually came in for the same reasons. And we have a daughter-in-law, Whitney Hubbard, who works in the nursery. She works with the younger kids. With our grandkids, there's 2 of 12 of them. And those 2, they're doing great. I know a lot of the elderly, the people that live here, are the residents, they love that, their interaction with the kids. Just the little things, little special things that let them know that if someone cares about them.
We have these little red buggies, and we put 4 kids, and they bring them around to the residents all over campus, and they just visit and interact with the residents. I honestly think that the interactions that the children provide to our residents give them a couple extra years of their lives. It's like an injection of life and love every single day when they come in. They just feel so much at home, because that's what this place is for them. This is home, and we are their family, and those little children are part of that, that beautiful family and the love. So there's sometimes no words to actually describe the joy that it brings them.
Thank you. You have seen, and I hope learned a little bit more about Pines through this wonderful video that was created of things about our children, our seniors, their intergenerational activities, and our new Ready and Steady program, which we're very, very excited about. Thank you all who helped to really create this wonderful informational video. One thing I hope that you have learned is that Pines is a family of residents, their families, and the entire staff. So today I'd like to speak to you about family in a very personal way. My nearly 99 years young dad arrived in Sarasota on September 1st from northeastern Connecticut. He was excited after many years of visiting that he had finally made the decision to move to Sarasota to be close to my husband and I. I had last seen Dad in May at a family wedding, and although looking rather thin and frail, he was still vibrant. he still was volunteering at a local hospital twice a week. And he was still dancing at the age of 98. Pretty extraordinary. He was still enjoying life. However, upon his arrival, I noticed that he seemed confused, and I'm sure he was even a bit scared. Coming to a new place at this stage in life at the age of 98, well, you can only imagine what apprehension he must have had. We had furnished a small apartment for him. That was the type of living arrangement he was used to. However, his second night in his residence, he had a very frightening episode. And that's when his world began spinning out of control. It seemed as though he had taken a fall, yes, a fall, before his arrival in Sarasota, and one of the things he did was hit his head. Although cleared for travel, I knew there was something going on. And after a visit to our personal physician, Dad was admitted to Doctor's Hospital, and then released, at my request, of course, to Pines. I will never forget that day. A little scary all the way around. My dad, a true patriot who had served in both World War II and Korea, and very proud of that, was admitted on 9/11 of all days to the Pines. And entrusting his care to me and my husband Jim, and trusting our judgment as to what his next days were going to be like. So when he arrived on a quiet Sunday afternoon that day, and he arrived when I greeted him with a big smile and all kinds of encouraging words, and he was wheeled to his room where he met nurses to be his caregivers. Now these were nurses who were there on weekends, like a part-time staff. I can't begin to tell you the welcome he got, the love he got, the care he received. It was an amazing moment for me and for him. For the next 16 days, I saw the kindest, most compassionate care provided by our nurses daily. Nurse Holly and Christopher, speech therapist Teresa, director of admissions Jody, and social service staff members such as Anna and Robin. Dad never wanted for anything. He even had hugs when I wasn't there. That's pretty amazing. That's what family does. Dad's physician at Pines was Dr. Kevin Shastari, who I could not speak more highly of. He could not have been kinder or gentler with my dad, as well as my family. His caring nature, along with that of our Pines family, had a profound impact on all of us. Well, Dad quietly passed away on September 26th in his home, the Pines. So having been a fundraiser for the Pines for 10 years and still going strong, and serving as a current board member, I have always believed in the Pines and its mission and how important it is to provide quality, compassionate care to our seniors even after they have outlived their resources. An important and much needed mission in our community. But to live the mission as a daughter, well, it only makes my commitment to the Pines and our residents bigger, better, and stronger. So today I would ask our staff members who are present, all staff members who are present, to stand as we all show our appreciation for all that they do. Please, please stand. My closing thought is this, that I would encourage each of you who are already members of our Pines family to invite someone into it. Invite them to become a part of this very special family, my family. Thank you very much.
Okay, Jane's got me crying. Thank you, Jane, and thank you, Jerry, for your sincere and heartfelt appreciation for our mission. We hear that from our families all the time, and that's something that can't be faked. With your support, residents can continue to live whole, wonderful lives even after, should they, outlive their financial resources. And some, over 100, certainly do. So today, I'm announcing my goal of trying to generate $200,000 between now and year's end. And to start me off, I received a pledge, a $25,000 challenge from Bruce Ray K Family Foundation. Am I supposed to point to you? It's a good start. Jerry?
I feel a little ashamed, but I am offering $50,000.
Oh, I love that kind of shame. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jerry. Please consider completing a donation card, which is on your desk. You can either choose wherever the need is greatest or for the Ready Steady program, and I mention that because the Patterson Foundation has issued a dollar for dollar challenge on that program. So now, please enjoy the rest of your lunch. In a few minutes, we'll have Ray Collins, our moderator, and our wonderful Wit and Wisdom panel come on up. Thank you.
If I could have your attention, please, we'll begin. I want to thank you, first off, for supporting the Pines. It's quite a who's who event today. It's a pleasure to be asked back as the moderator. I'm Ray Collins from ABC 7, and this is one of the... Thank you, Estelle. One of the highlights of my year is to get a chance to be up here and talk to you and learn more about these fine folks in our community. Every year, like a final exam, I delve into their backgrounds and learn all I can about them, and today we pass it on to you. I think you'll be fascinated by these folks. Thanks also to Charles Clapsaddle and the folks from METV who are here today. You'll be able to watch this on in Sarasota County on Frontier Cable, Channel 31, also on YouTube, and all over Manatee County as well. So thank you, the very prestigious METV, for broadcasting our event this year. Today we're going to meet a broadcaster born in Atlanta, an educator born in Gary, Indiana, and an actress born in St. Louis. I think you'll enjoy hearing more about them. So let's start with that little girl from Atlanta who was born into a family with a Baptist preacher as a father. Linda, what was your childhood like?
And my maiden name was Linda Watson. I think this is my long-lost brother. It was really, really great. The happiest times of my life were family trips to Florida every year. Oh, that was the best because everybody was having a great time. And the funny thing is, as a Baptist preacher's daughter, we were never allowed to play cards because that was a sin. So to this day, I don't know one card from another. After my dad retired and my mom died and he married a second time, he became a champion bridge player and traveled all over the country playing bridge. So he decided that wasn't a sin after all.
I love irony. Dr. Watson, your parents left Alabama to go work for U.S. Steel in Ohio. Your father, Homer, your mother, Fanny. Your father wasn't promoted very often at work, despite being one of the best workers. Tell us about your childhood from Gary, Indiana.
My childhood was great. I had a close family. There were 5 children. My dad was a combat veteran of World War I. After the war, he decided that he was going to leave Alabama, or he was going to kill somebody, they're going to kill him. He moved to Akron, Ohio to work in the rubber plants, and then he heard that Gary, Indiana was hiring people and paying good wages and benefits, and they paid black people the same wages they paid white people. So he left, moved to Gary, and 4 of the 5 children were born there. Had a great childhood, grew up in a neighborhood that was very, very diverse, despite the fact that the city was segregated. But I had an opportunity to attend a fantastic public school system. Not anything that you all would recognize now for the people. We had arts required in every school. Every high school had its own swimming pool. This is a blue-collar working class town. Highly qualified teachers. Everything that you wanted to learn, you could learn. Very well-trained teachers. And that is what provided me the opportunity to do everything that I've done in my life. So I had a wonderful childhood. We were a working class family, didn't have a lot, but neither did anybody else. And I'm delighted that I was born in Gary. My parents moved there in 1921, and Gary was founded in 1906. So they were pioneers. That was my early life.
Thank you, Dr. Watson. And we'll hear more about that Roosevelt High School that he later went back to become a teacher at, and also brought in Louis Armstrong and Joe Louis for show and tell. Now on to the actress from St. Louis who says that she lived an overprivileged and wonderful childhood. That's good to hear. Good start.
I was very lucky to grow up with my parents, Barbara and Maurice Hirsch, who would drag me to Sarasota when I was a little kid, actually. And so we got to come here every year since the time I was 7. I won't tell you how long ago that was. Because although this is a panel for wit and wisdom of the aging, I refuse to age or admit that I'm aging. Let me put it that way. So I did have a wonderful childhood. I went to an all-girls school, private school, since the time I was in kindergarten through the 12th grade, so that when I went to Boston University for my theater training many years later for college, I was shocked because I was taken from the Midwest and from this very tiny little school, and I was thrown into the big city of Boston and into the theater department. And when I was there the first day, my roommates came in, and one swept in like Loretta Young, saying, "Oh my God, I just can't believe this place. I just came from summer stock." And she started to talk about her sexual escapades. I didn't even know what that meant. So I had a lot of worldliness to acquire, a lot of growing up to do, but I had a great background because my parents, Barbara and Maurice Hirsch, were terrific philanthropists, and they were terrific activists as well. My father was in the advertising business, and my mother went to Wellesley, and then she went on to law school at Washington University in St. Louis, and she was the president of her law class, and that was before women did that sort of thing, really. And so I was brought up in a tradition of independence and strength, and I am forever grateful to both of those fabulous people for teaching me excellent values about giving back to the community, about being strong as a human being, and carrying on. So I feel very blessed.
Very good. I thought we might have needed a 5-second delay for a second there on Charles's camera in case you talk more about the escapades. If there's time later, we can get into those.
Self-editing I did there.
Good for you.
No, I better not say those words.
It's a family show. Linda Carson and I, of course, work together. She's one of my favorite co-workers of all time. We've been each other's fans for about 12 years now. My motivation to get in the business was Peter Jennings. Your motivation was somebody entirely different.
Oh, when I was a kid, I loved to read. And we always read the comic strip in the newspaper. And Brenda Starr was a girl reporter. And she had a glitter in her eye, and she had great adventures. She had a boyfriend that sent her black orchids and wore a patch over his eye. But she was a writer in a newspaper, and that's what I wanted to be. And I was probably 7 or 8 years old because I would write newspaper stories on those tablets that went sideways, and I would I would sign them the Tiger Woman, and I would drop them off at all of my neighbors' house. So I've wanted to be a reporter since I was like 8 years old, like Brenda Starr.
You've done very well for yourself. I was researching Dr. Watson, and I wrote down, okay, he's an educator, a civic leader, also a civil rights champion, a musician. The list kept on going about this Renaissance man. He went to Indiana University, then in the Air Force, got his master's at Illinois and his PhD at Chicago. And yet you say that you really developed some crystal clear thinking when you were a senior at Indiana University. What happened when you were a senior in college, Dr. Watson?
I was on my way to law school. Everybody thought I was going to be a lawyer the time I was a kid. I never really thought about it. I said, that's what I'm going to be. And I majored in history and political science. I was a good student. And I was getting ready to go to law school, and I had to fill out, I didn't have very much money. I had 2 scholarships. But the 2 scholarships only paid tuition. Everything else I had to provide. So I took as many courses as I could take every semester. I took 20 hours at a time. And I had a 2-hour course to fill out the 20, and it was taught by a graduate student, Jack Elzey. I'll never forget his name. And he taught a course called Education as a Field of Study. But what he really talked about was what the power of education was able to do to inspire people and to equip people to change the country. And I wanted to change this country, make no mistake about that. I went to Indiana University where there were very few of us, had 15,000 students and maybe 200 of us. Most of the people that I went to school with who were male were veterans of World War II. But they couldn't live on campus. The girls couldn't live on campus. They had to live off campus. The star of the football team had to live in an apartment over a garage of a physician in town. And I went there determined to change Indiana University as well as get a degree. And I raised a little hell, more than a little, got myself elected as the first black person to the student government, and did a lot of other stuff, which got me on a lot of people's radar. But that taught me that I could do more being an educator than I could do being a lawyer. Remember, this is 1492. and the era of class action lawsuits, that was before all that stuff. So instead of doing a case at a time, I could help train an entire cadre of powerful, bright people who wanted to change things. And that's what I spent the rest of my life doing.
You certainly have. Carolyn, you've described yourself to me as a shy little girl, insecure like we all were and are, but you went into acting. How did you wind up in acting with anxiety issues as a child?
When I was 6 years old, I was in kindergarten, and I put my hands up in the kindergarten play to be a tulip. And I put my hands up. And people laughed and they applauded. And the shy little girl went, "Oh, that's kind of nice." So it was when I was 6 years old that I decided that I wanted to be an actress. And I could, by being an actress, I felt like, I actually went to a drama school, junior theater, in St. Louis, and took classes when I was very young, from the 6 on, and we did plays at our synagogue too, Temple Israel. Other people were studying the Torah, and I was playing Pinchas Pinocchio in the Purim play. I started out playing plants and animals, and little boys and men and mothers. So I did have a period of time during my high school career where I actually got to play somebody my own age when I got to play Anne Frank. So there have been periods in this aging situation where I have gone from playing old ladies, mothers, when I was like 10, to playing my own age when I was 14. And then it's sort of progressed since then, and now I'm back to playing old ladies. So, and men also. I played a man in Family Secrets a couple of years ago. So, but I found that through theater, I could express things that when I was young, I was too shy to express in my real life. And so I could examine the human condition, and I could find ways to express my inner self through other people, the characters I was playing. And people thought I was good at doing it, so I took great joy at pursuing that. And I was very fortunate to come here to Sarasota. Ultimately, I went to Boston University and then to New York and California and did all the things you're supposed to do, and came back and forth here to Sarasota, and was quite honored to be able to work at initially at the Golden Apple Dinner Theater when I was very young, and then at Florida Studio Theater, and for many years, many years, and of course 24 seasons at the Oslo, and you know.
So it goes.
Thank you.
Good.
And on Broadway with Sid Caesar. So there you go.
We'll talk about that next, by the way. Linda, we talked about Dr. Watson breaking through some racial boundaries. You had your own challenges to break through coming up in broadcasting, didn't you?
Yes, I was the first female reporter in Atlanta. I started out as a weather girl, and then I decided that I really could have my dream. I could be a reporter. My first, when they made me a reporter, there were several of us auditioning, and the news director came to me and he said, "I choose you. None of you know you're asked from first base, but at least you know you don't know." and he said, "I want you to cover like baby beauty contests and cooking contests and maybe fashion shows. You choose it, whatever you girls like." Well, Lurleen Wallace was governor of Alabama. She'd never given an interview. She was coming to Atlanta. So I called up and made an appointment, and I got the first and only interview with Lurleen Wallace. All of the networks had to pick it up from us. I won the award for reporting that year in Atlanta, but because I was a woman, I was not allowed to come to the dinner. I could come in and accept my award, but then I had to leave. But that was okay. I was 24 years old. I didn't want to sit around with those old 40-year-old men anyway. And once when I was, this campaign reminded me, once when I was interviewing a guy who was running for office, he stuck a $20 bill down my dress and said, "See, I get some airtime, baby."
Dr. Watson.
He got airtime.
Oh.
I told him all about it.
I didn't want to ask a follow-up there. Dr. Watson, I asked you about an early decision, an early tough decision you had to make along the way, and you said it was hard to take part in activities, whether you could excel or not. Could you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, I went to a wonderful high school, K through 12, back in those days. And one of the things we learned there was that all of this stuff is out here available for you, and you ought to take advantage of it. And there are things that all of you do very, very well, and there are things that only people like me don't do so well. But they taught us to take part in everything. And I loved school, and I tried to do that. I participated in athletics, 3 sports. I was in the band, the orchestra. I was the president of my class 3 times, vice president of student government. I wasn't very good in athletics, I want you to know that. As a matter of fact, my favorite sport was basketball, and I was awful in it. And I played it anyway because I loved it. But it gave you an attitude about trying to do things that you're interested in or taking challenges on, and you never know whether you're going to be good in it, you're going to lose, or whatever. So that's what I did, and that was very important for me for the rest of my life. My parents had already taught me that. The school reinforced it.
Carolyn, you spent 30 years on and off traveling with Sid Caesar and also went to Broadway with him briefly. Tell us about that relationship and how it got started.
Well, I met Sid Caesar because Bob Toroff at the Golden Apple was producing in other places, and he was producing in the Midnight Sun Dinner Theater in Atlanta. And I had done a production of this Neil Simon play called Last of the Red Hot Lovers with Jack Carter at one point. And so we were, I was supposed to be in the show with Sid Caesar, and at the last minute I was asked to direct it. So I said, of course I'll direct that. And of course then I went out screaming, going, oh my God, what am I gonna say to Sid Caesar? And so, but it all worked out. And he was in one of his, he's written about this a lot, so he was in one of those times where he was taking a lot of sleeping pills. And so the matinees were a little groggy. And I would make sure that he got to the matinees. I would make sure that he got fed, and I sort of, and we clicked on stage because I was sort of the same kind of energy as Imogene Coca. And so from then on, we did plays all over the country. And eventually he called me and asked me if I would join him in New York to do an off-Broadway show called Sid Caesar and Company, and then we did that for about 6 months, and then it was picked up to go to Broadway, and we went to Broadway for just about a few weeks. It did not do well on Broadway, but it was certainly a great experience, and I got to sort of live my dream of finally walking onto a Broadway stage, and that was great fun, and walking backstage and walking down Schubert Alley and walking into the Golden Theater. It was fantastic. So
Yeah.
I got to live that dream, and it's a great it was a great experience, but I have to say that the work that I've done in regional theaters, Florida Studio Theater, the Oslo, and regional theaters all over the country, has been my most exciting and challenging work. And I enjoy that the most.
Thank you for that answer. Linda, you also crisscrossed the country with a gentleman. You heard of the Pittsburgh Steelers? Remember the steel curtain back in the 1970s when the Steelers were the best football team in the country for years and years? The steel curtain was designed by a defensive coordinator named Bud Carson. Carson, as in Mr. Linda Carson. You had an interesting life, haven't you?
I did. When I was divorced in Atlanta, I sort of had a list of guys I was interested in, and Bud was one of them. I was anchoring the news, and one day the sports director didn't come. It was a Jewish holiday, and he took the day off, so everybody was saying, who's going to interview Bud Carson? Oh, he's awful, I'm not going. And I said, I'll go. And they said, you don't know anything about football. Well, I said, what do you think about your competition? How are you preparing? What's your strengths? What are their strengths? And then at the end of the interview, I said, I heard you got divorced. Here's a book that really helped me when I got divorced recently. But I'd really like to have it back so it has my name and phone number. He never got the message. So I had to say to and he was living with our sports director. They were roommates. Finally, I had to say to him, Art, tell Bud to call me and ask me for lunch. The phone rang in 5 minutes, and he asked me for lunch. So it started then. And I have to tell you this. Clarence Gordon was my photographer that was working with me. He took, when we did the interview, his 3-year-old son, Clemente, with us. Flash forward 30 years, Bud's the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, and Clemente is a quarterback from A&M auditioning for the quarterback job. My daughter and I organized the stands. We were all saying, we want Clemente. He didn't quite make it, but it just shows people go round and round in your life.
Dr. Watson, you've had so many interesting chapters in your life. Tell us about your favorite chapter, if you can pick out one part of your life that stands out the most, and maybe some challenges, adversity that was thrown in your path, and what you learned from it, perhaps?
Well, there were two. The first one occurred in, the most important one, I should say, in September. I was a young junior high school principal, and youngest one maybe in the state. And the school system was hiring a lot of people from out of town because the school system was growing so fast and they needed teachers, and they brought in a lot of young teachers. And one of the teachers on my staff was a science teacher who today would have been a physician, but they had very few opportunities for women in those days. She's brilliant. Anyway, her roommate was one of the new teachers that had been hired. So I ran very, very short PTA meetings, under an hour. So she said, why don't you come with me and then we can go out. The two young single women were going out to meet some of the young single guys who were there. And so I met this young woman on the 22nd of September that year. We went out on a date. A week later, Thanksgiving, I asked her to marry me. December, I gave her a ring. July 1st of the next year, we were married, and we have been married for 55 years, and she's sitting right over there.
There she is. Congratulations.
The other thing, very shortly, is that I was determined that nobody was going to determine who I was going to be or what I was going to do. I grew up in a period of time where today is like utopia. There were no opportunities, and we knew that if we wanted a B or an A in a class, we had to get a B if you were not in Roosevelt School. Every school I attended had very few of us. I knew that I had to get an A to get a B. I always did that. Graduated, never had a problem with the academics or with the rest of the stuff, but I spent my time trying to change things wherever I was. Paid off. I lived the life that I wanted to live. I'm one of the few people of my generation who's lived the American dream. It wasn't easy, but it wasn't going to stop me, and it's what I tell the young people today, don't let it stop you. And I had the privilege of serving 3 presidents of the United States. Appointed to a president commission when I was in my 30s, Lyndon Baines Johnson. I was appointed to another one, and I became the vice chair of that commission. I was appointed to another one by Jimmy Carter, appointed to a third one by Clinton, and in the meantime, I served on a presidential task force under Ronald Reagan.
Wow.
Okay.
Carolyn, you knew since you were a little girl you wanted to be an actress, and you did pursue your passion, a wonderful thing. I think it was Thoreau who said most men live lives of quiet desperation because they don't pursue their passions. Talk to us about the importance of executing what you want in life and what you tell perhaps a younger generation about going for their goals.
Oh, my. Well, I just think that people need to do things that they love to do because you're spending your life doing it. So you need to find a lot of things that you love to do because pathways can change along the way. Certainly, as an actor, I wasn't always able to get all the best work that I wanted to do, although I loved doing it all. So I developed a life outside of acting, where I could raise money for organizations. I could put on shows that would raise money for organizations that were worthy. I started the AIDS benefit for Community AIDS Network in 1987, and we put on a huge show at the Van Wezel. And of course, that organization has been growing and expanding ever since. So I would say that sometimes you have to take a job you don't love, but you have to have passion in your life in order to be happy with yourself, be happy with your own soul. So that's what I would advise young people to do. Sometimes you need to make money, and sometimes that's not the thing, that your job making money is not. I was lucky I got to make money and do the thing that I had a passion for doing. But not everybody has that good fortune, and I think that you need to follow your heart. And making money is not the be-all and the end-all. Following your heart is much more important, as we all here know. So that's
answer, yeah.
What I would say.
Linda, I've had the pleasure of knowing you for 12 years. Now we work side by side every day, and I think part of your success, besides your talent, is your people skills. You're a glass is half full, if not brimming type person. And now a lot of our co-workers are in their early 20s. We began before their parents met. How have you adapted so well? You seem to let things roll off your back at every turn. Do you have advice? Do you have a motto, a mantra that you use to make it look so easy?
I don't think I have a mantra. I love what I do. I really enjoy every minute. My job is getting to know people, getting to know the real inside of people. That's what I do completely now. All the news I cover 5 days a week is good news. But I think what helps me get through, whether it's good times, because I've worked 14 hours every day this week so far, but what helps me get through, and this is a downer. My husband was told he was dying. He was in the Sarasota Memorial Hospital. The doctor said, you've probably got less than 3 months. He called for his pastor, who had also been told he wouldn't live until Christmas. This was the day after Thanksgiving. And he came. He had also been an athlete and had a Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And my husband said to him, what do I do now? And he said, leave it all on the field. How many times have you told football players before they go on that field, leave it all on the field, give every ounce you've got to what you're doing now? And he said, and what you need to do now is to talk to all of the people that you really care about, call them on the phone and say, hey, remember that golf game we had? Remember that football game we had? And show your kids how to go forward with dignity and respect and strength. My husband had his assignment. He died 5 days later, but he was on the phone. His brothers came down. We went to Patrick's, believe it or not. We disguised our hospice lady. But every day, well, you can't have a hospice lady sitting at a big table. But he was dead within 5 days, but he left it all on the field. And when I go to work every day, because I really do like what I'm doing. And at 78, you don't know how much longer this can last. They may decide they want a young 50-year-old or something, you know. So I go in there and I give it my very best, even if it means I stay there till 8 or 9 o'clock. I may be slower than the others, but I'll work harder and I'll work longer. So that gives me my inspiration.
Yeah.
That's what goes on in my head.
I love that. I had a chance to meet your husband once at the Emergency Operations Center during Hurricane Charlie back in '04. Remember that? Years and years ago.
They told him he had to evacuate. He went to the Ritz.
I want to pipe in here with stories of my husband, who is sitting over there, my wonderful Howard Millman, whom I met later in my life. I did not get this. Howard Millman is my first marriage. I did not get married when I was young, because I think because my mother had this. My mother had this thing where she sort of, or at least this was my interpretation of what she said. And you know, children have different they hear things differently. So, and she had this thing where she sort of said to me that she would have been a lawyer, but she had to be a corporate wife. She would have done this, but she did this instead. Later on, she said that she really did what she wanted to do, and she made the choices that she really wanted to make. But as a young girl, I thought, well, I'm not going to have some guy tell me I can't go around the country acting, or I can't do what I want to do. So I never got married. I did have some experiences, but...
Oh, get the 5-second delay going.
Okay. I don't think you want... Well, you do want to hear about them, but I'll talk to you all later. And
Line up.
And so later in life, Howard Millman inserted himself into my world, and I have to say that changed my life in the most wonderful, positive way ever. I finally found my soulmate, and I never thought I would find my soulmate, and I certainly never thought I would find it in the person of Howard Millman, who, when I met him many years earlier, I thought he was sort of a pompous animal.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, 5-second delay.
We can fix that, don't worry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I just can't control this mouth. It's one of the things of wit and wisdom. You have to, I used to be much more, I was shy, but you would never know that now, because now things like leap out of my mouth and I go, whoa, I should put that back in. So in any case, I'm fortunate. I have my best friend, my soulmate, the love of my life that has come into my life at the perfect time for me. And we have been able to do this thing that we both love, theater, and be with this wonderful Sarasota community. For now, we're married. It's going to be 16 years. We've been together 20 years. So I'm very, very happy. And I just had to say hi to him.
Very nice.
I have to tell you about Howard Millman now. When I was in Atlanta, I wanted to be in television more than anything in the world, and I had a job as a writer. And I was writing that the weatherman from the other station was coming to my station. And my boss said, if you try out for that job, you don't have this job. Don't come back. And I couldn't decide what to do. So we went to see Sound of Music. They sang Climb Every Mountain. I auditioned for that job, and out of 257 women, I got it. And Howard Millman was the director. Isn't that the oddest thing? He changed my life.
Before we get to our last round of questions, I'd be remiss not to introduce my soulmate, love of my life.
Yeah, you could be in real trouble here.
I wrote the book on getting married later in life, so my sweetheart, Erin, could you please stand up and say hello? This is my wife. All right, Dr. Watson, you've been in Sarasota now full-time since 2002. If you could be king of Sarasota for a day, what's the one change you would like to make to this fair city, or this region for that matter? The crowd reacts.
They're all glad that I got this question.
Yeah.
What I would like to see change, not just here, but especially here because it's such a special community, is that people will begin to really understand what a wonderful country we live in, and that to make the country the kind of country we want it to be, we have to participate. You have to be involved in things. You have to fight for the things that you believe in and that you care about. And to let young people understand that whether they want it or not, they're going to inherit whatever mess or whatever wonderful thing we leave to them. And that if they want to shape their lives, and they want to shape this community, and they want to shape this country, whether it wants to or not, it's going to be a leadership country in the world. They have to participate, they have to share, they have to respect, and they have to work with all of the people all of the time. Absent that, you not only have no future, we have no future.
And they have to vote.
All right.
That's part of being an American citizen.
Thank you, Dr. Watson. I thought he'd mention the bayfront or parking meters, but even better. Just kidding, Commissioner. We won't talk about... Carolyn, I'll give you an option. Do you want to talk about some closing advice, or do you want to talk about what you would change in Sarasota? You've got an option here. Gosh. Or miscellaneous, your own answer, some closing thoughts.
My closing thoughts. I don't know, it's an interesting thing that this is called wit and wisdom, because I feel like we do acquire wisdom as we go along, and we learn how the joys and the simple things can help us. We learn to participate in the passions that we feel strongly about, and I have not yet learned to keep my mouth shut. So that's something I'm trying to work on, and I would advise young people to do that. Sarasota, I think, is, at least for a while, but it's important it's important to listen to other people. It's important to hear what they have to say, because it's not just about what you think and what you feel. It's about an exchange. Life is about an exchange of ideas. Everyone here knows that. And everyone here is committed to improving the life for people less fortunate than we are. And I would say that that's a worthy endeavor for all of us, and I applaud you all for doing that. Thank you.
Well, we are certainly all here to support the Pines and all it does for our community. So perhaps if each of you could just close with a sentence or two about your thoughts about the Pines and what it means to you and this community. Linda, a couple of words about the Pines, please.
Well, my grandmother spent a lot of years in a nursing home. She celebrated her 100th birthday there, and we were walking down the hall with her best friend, and I said, "What do you want for your birthday, Grandma?" And she said, "I want a girdle and a padded bra and a wig, because I'm going to get myself a man." And she only lived another year or so, but she was so happy. She had a great life. That was in Georgia. And in the Pines, it's even better. I may end up there, so I have a big investment in this. And, you know, I've been there a lot of times. People are having exciting lives. You've got something wonderful to look forward to the next day. You've got friends that you know really well. You've got information to share about what's going on, and you've got the very best circumstances to live in. So when I get there, come and visit, because I'm going to be having a lot of fun. It's not over.
You'll still be broadcasting. I'll say, let's go to Linda Carson now, live at our Pines, Sarasota Bureau. I was visiting my mother, who's up in Buffalo, at a facility. And, oh, Buffalo or my mother? She is nice. And I flew back that day and went over to the Pines that afternoon for some business I was doing, and I thought, boy, I wish she was down here. Between the weather and the facility, and you just do it so right over there, Estelle and John and the entire staff. Dr. Watson, a couple of words about the Pines, please.
I had never heard of the Pines. I had passed it many times, looking at that big complex there, not knowing what it was. And as usual, my wife had explained to me what it was. But then I got to go on a tour, and I was mightily impressed with the quality of the work, the comprehensiveness of the work, especially the intergenerational things that they have going on there. I love that, and I am going to be a supporter.
Very nice. Good to hear. Carolyn?
Ditto.
All right, then.
Ditto. Is this working? Hello? Is this working? Yeah. Okay, good. I also had not been to the Pines. I'd driven by it many times, and certainly I had been to the thrift shop right across the street, which I love. They have some terrific things. However, I had not been to the actual Pines, and it's an astounding campus. I was except for the color of the wall, which I really didn't love, but everything else about it. And poor Estelle had to listen to me say, "This color of the wall," but that's just me. I loved the campus and their programs and what they do, and the different facilities, and the fact the intergenerational interaction that we saw on the screen here. It's an amazing place. It's certainly worthy of all of our support, and I may be Linda's next door neighbor. At the Pines.
Roommates.
I know, we can play cards.
Very good. Well, I happen. You can paint your room.
Oh, and Estelle said that my room would be painted a different color.
I love the color.
Let me just wrap up by saying I know that the recipe for a good discussion is plenty of shortening. So I will wind this down now, and thank you, John Overton and Estelle Crawford and all the staff that is here and all the committees that have done so much. They start planning next year in about an hour. And it's a wonderful organization. I'm so honored to be back again for a third or fourth year doing this. Thank you for supporting the Pines, and thank you for those who have donated today, Bruce and Jerry. And here comes Estelle, so I better wind down right now. Thank you, folks.
And our co-chairs and I thank this wonderful team. You really are amazing. And our moderator, Ray, who has been with us every single year, and our audience for really caring. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you all. This was a great day and a wonderful panel. Thank you, panel.